Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan, and I have a debut, a big time debut here, and I'm very psyched that he has agreed to come on to the show today. Austin Wang, and he is actually a University of Houston alum, so you can bet that he's in a very, very good mood. Probably not in such a good mood for that other team from Texas, but which will go nameless, of course. But anyway, we will welcome Austin here. He's a database guy. He's kind of a different version of myself, I think, sometimes. He does a lot of high-end analytics. So if you guys out there in the chat room like analytics and on the high-end scale, where we're not afraid to say the p-value without getting insulted, he's your guy. So welcome to the show, Austin. I'm very glad that you're on board, and to introduce yourself to the chat room and the people who will be listening to this on archived version, take a few minutes here and tell us all how you got involved with this and your love for sports and your love of UH and why they're going to win it all, because I bet them actually, but you don't have to comment on that.
Hey, John, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be on your show. I can't believe it, but just about a year ago, we were swapping messages about the KBO. So I'm glad to see all the major American sports back up and running. So I'm really happy to see your success with this show and also at sportsmemo.com. And this is my first time participating in a live show like this. So I'm excited. I'm ready to talk hoops, ready to break it down for you.
That's awesome.
And have some fun.
Yep. This guy's very good with the SDQL, which is a sports data query language. A little plug for them. But as we know, there's other methods too that are out there. But theirs is one of the better ones that's available. But you have to know Python pretty much inside and out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the syntax is very easy to learn. I think if you just spend some time reading through the manuals and looking through the shortcuts, I think you'll find that it tends to be very intuitive. But yes, there's definitely a lot you can do with certain Python functions if you want to dig deeper. But at a very high level, basic level, if you want to look up a team's spread, a record against the spread or over under records, I think those shortcuts are really easy. So I encourage folks to go out there, read the manuals, practice on your own, and see what you can come up with.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Yep. So how in the world did you get involved with this? Did it just kind of like evolve, and then one day you woke up and thought, wow, sports betting?
Yeah, so I started betting back in college in 2005. Like you mentioned, I'm a University of Houston alum, and the whole city's excited for the university. And Kelvin Sampson's done some awesome things with this program. And to be honest, as a Houston sports fan, there's really not much else we can root for at this moment. So University of Houston, we're all very supportive of, and hopefully we can bring that championship to the university. So I started back in college, like I said, in 2005, and I was just betting for fun. And I think it wasn't until around 2012, 2013 is when I realized I actually had a knack for this. I had a few winning seasons in a row in the NFL. And I think my approach was more just, fade the public. I was a contrarian bettor, and I just knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't sustainable. So 2 to 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to hone in on my craft, and I started to do some predictive modeling. I discovered SDQL, which was like the holy grail to me at the time. I think specifically I was looking at, I realized throughout the NFL season that for some reason, like my home underdogs weren't hitting as frequent towards the later part of the season. So I was trying to look for a way to actually research those statistics and data. And that's when I found killersports.com, sportsdatabase.com. And I was able to, look at that tangible data and see how they performed, in certain situations. So that's when I started building out the models. I started networking on Twitter. I eventually started doing these write-ups, and I broke down these trends, did some statistical breakdowns, and it was fun to me. I'm really wanted to provide valuable and entertaining content to the folks out there. And I eventually got picked up by Action Network earlier this year and started writing for the NBA, writing for them on the NBA. And no, I just want to, again, make some valuable and entertaining content, make some friends, and most importantly, win some money.
Yeah, you summed it up. That's what these shows are all about. It's all about all of us learning to be betters,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a way to describing it. But that's it's there's no egos, there's no nothing. It's all about trying to provide education, and you're certainly a mind that can definitely bring education to everyone.
Yep.
So another reason why I'm really psyched that you're on here, and being on Action Network, guys, is huge. I mean, that's instant credibility in my eyes, and probably hundreds of thousands of other people would say the same thing about Action Network and being part of that team. So I know you like the NBA quite a bit, and you do very well with that. So I presume that's probably what we're gonna talk about with today's card, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. NBA is my main focus, as well as the MLB and the NFL. So I'm very excited for opening day tomorrow. But yeah, NBA has been my primary focus for the last couple of months, and yeah, the totals have been have actually been really interesting. So I wanted to kind of talk through some general trends and observations that I've made with the totals in the NBA.
Okay. Do you want to pick out a game on today's card, or just look at a system, or
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start off just by
okay?
making a high level macro level comment, and that the average total in the NBA has been hovering around 224, as well as the average scores is 223.5, and the over unders overall have been right at 49.4%. So that's to be expected. But if you look at certain thresholds, and I picked one that I found was a key number in is that any totals that were under 219 this season have gone 104 to 49 to the under. That's 78%. Can you believe that? It's
It's
you
amazing.
got it really is, and you've got teams like the Magic, the Knicks, the Thunder, Cavs, Pistons, the Heat. They're some of the more common teams that fall in this range, and the ones that have poor offenses, good defenses, play at a slow pace, or maybe a combination of all three. And yeah, there's actually three games that fit that threshold today, and that would be the Pacers and the Heat, which is currently sitting at 218.5. The Timberwolves and the Knicks are also below that 219 threshold, and the Suns and the Bulls. So
So
on the
again, just for
other, yep.
the, just repeat the system again. Like in future shows, we'll have a slide so people can write it down. But just run through the. I mean, it's very simplistic, but it's made a lot of money.
Yeah, very simplistic. So totals under 219, not including 219, but 218 and a half and below. That's 104 to 49 to the under for 78%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I say humbly, even I did not know that.
Yeah, it's
But that's
it's
that's pretty
ridiculous.
amazing. Yep.
So on the other hand, you're looking at these high totals. You got teams like the Kings, the Wizards, the Nets, the Trailblazers that play at a fast pace, don't play much defense, strong offenses, and the key number that I found there was 235 totals with 235 and over, and this is including 235 in the SDQL database. They've gone 40 and 17 to the over, which is good for 70.9%. So not as much volume as the unders, but still very successful in their right. And these extremes are wild. The bookmakers are pricing this in a manner that may deter the average bettor, scare them away from these extremely high or extremely low totals, but they are in fact hitting at a very high rate.
That's great stuff, Austin. It really is, because that's easy for even the casual bettor to follow.
Yep, it's
So
very
that's
simple.
awesome.
And the next thing I wanted to chat about is just with, and I wanted to get your input on this is when to bet with these compressed schedules and back-to-backs. You're seeing a lot of injuries, Kawhi, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Embiid, Steph Curry. They've all missed extended time with their injuries. And, I think just our natural intuition is to try to bet things early to beat the market and get some closing line value. I know during the NFL season on Sunday night, while Sunday night football is going on and books are releasing their lines, I'm already starting to do research for next week's games to see if I can see if I can find value. And taking the same approach with the NBA, starting the research the night before, and then all of a sudden the next day you got last minute injuries, you got players sitting out, load management. Clippers are a huge violator of this. But I certainly wanted to, number one, get your input on the timing of when you bet these, because, even if you wait to the very end, there's been instances where Steph Curry and Kawhi Leonard have been game time calls and have sat out, and it's kind of frustrating and infuriating at times. Usually, if I like an over, I'll typically wait to see if most of the key players are in and check the statuses of these throughout the day. Just because if one of their key players gets injured, the total's likely going to go down. Whereas if I like an under, and I do think the total is going to continue moving downwards, I'll tend to bet those a little earlier. But yeah, I've been trying to wait a little more as opposed to betting the night before or really early in the morning, just to mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah. I was thinking through an answer because I think it's based on team by team situation.
Yeah.
You mentioned Steph Curry. You mentioned the Clippers, notorious for 15 minutes before game time or less than saying, oh, they're not going to play. And that's part of the game right now. I've been fortunate enough to dodge those bullets and be able to make the bet an hour before, or within that last 15-minute window without any negative repercussions. I can tell you on the flip side, I found some really good value with the Sixers when Embiid's not playing. And this team is totally different than it was last year. And after all, it was a very young team under Brett Brown, but now they have Doc Rivers. And his experience both as a player and as a coach for decades is maturing this team at a pretty rapid rate. And Ben Simmons is my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. And they do rise to the occasion when Embiid is out. The exception being last night, which I did have the Sixers on just a totally awesome money line situation. It only hits 37% of the time, but it averages a 245 dog. So last 5 years, the $100 better has made quadruple $7,777 on that little system. Just doing that blindly.
Excellent.
And I think that's the key. On any given day, any of our betting systems may lose.
Right.
But over time, these things are back tested, and we like to throw around the P value, which I always call the Z score on steroids. And a lot of people have already heard me say it on the shows, but this tells you how well the parameters correlate to one another.
Right.
The Phillies are 10-1 on Saturday at 1:00 if they went to Wendy's for lunch. That's a meaningless trend, right?
Right.
And I'm being absurd with that, but there are like coaching trends that can get up to that 14-2, 15-2 realm, and then fail miserably. So that's the danger side when you get those trends up that high. But in terms of the player not playing, it is very important to watch it. And maybe even try to stay away from those games. And maybe that's what I've had the luck of doing. My stuff comes up on games where I'm not too concerned about it. But to your point, the Clippers are by far the one to keep an eye on. That's
right. Well, I'll share a trend and system that's been very successful now that we're past the All-Star break. And this is a after All-Star break related trend. And that's when two elite teams, and I define elite teams as having a winning percentage greater than 60%, and it's the regular season. And this trend's been, this is since the 2010-2011 season. And those matchups have gone 189 and 122 to the under, and that's 60.8%. So my theory behind that is these teams are getting ready for the playoffs. They're fighting for playoff seeding, getting adjusted to a playoff pace, and that tends to be lead to better defense, lower scoring, slower pace. So that's something that I've seen that's been very successful over the last couple seasons. It's active on the Lakers and the Bucks tonight, although I will argue that adamantly that the Lakers should not be considered as an elite team at the moment, and maybe possibly need to stay away from that one. But it's also active on the Clippers and the Nuggets tomorrow night. So that's definitely a look if you like if the number is right. I think that's definitely a good look for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. That's a big time matchup too. So I
Yep.
think Milwaukee has a lot of question marks about who they are. It seems like Giannis. The way you defend him is you throw your body in front of him and
Yep.
force him to give it up when he's in the paint.
Right.
And but sometimes he doesn't give it up. But for the life of me, he should be 100% like going to the hoop when he's in the paint instead of trying to swing it out to the perimeter. But I'm not an NBA coach, Austin, so what do I know? But any other games? Because we have that was a underplay, right, on Milwaukee Lakers.
Yep, that was an underplay
Yep.
on the Milwaukee Lakers. And then, I'll share another one because there's been a lot of these 2-game series this season where teams play one another in consecutive games, limit travel, obviously, because of COVID and all. And there's still about 20 more of these for the rest of the season of these 2-game series. So something to look into and take note of for the future. So when a team is playing in game 2 of these 2-game series and the first game went over, and the total is greater than the previous game total, it's gone 111 and 64 to the over. So that's 63.4%. And this is active. This is active. No time throughout the history of the SDQL database, and not just limited to a certain season. And I believe for the 2020 season, it's gone 11-4 to the over still. So still
Wow.
holds true till today, and it's active on the Spurs and the Kings tonight.
And I already like the over in that game, so that's good to know.
Yep.
Now, just thinking here on that particular trend, is that just regular season or is that playoffs too? Because as we know,
No,
playoffs go back to back, and
right. That's just a regular season trend. I've limited that just to regular
yep,
season.
okay, yeah, that's awesome because that's probably going to be those schedules are probably going to happen again next year. Who knows when this COVID thing is actually going to be done and over with, and we get back to whatever normal was. I don't think any of us remember what that was really, but
Right.
I sure, with all due respect to KBO, Austin, I remember those days with you, bud, and
Oh yeah,
thank
we were grinding.
I think it was more than that even. It was, whew. Thank God we had that though. I mean, it took
Yeah.
your mind off of it for a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's all good. But our connection was definitely made during that time. So we soon discovered in the database that the bullpens were pathetic, and not even betting the first 5 innings was giving any fruit. And
No.
after that, it was a total coin flip. There was no correlation to anything. But
Right.
sorry I digressed there. But we'll get back here to the NBA. So we have so far we have under in the Lakers Bucks game, and then over in the Spurs Kings game.
That's right. And speaking on the Milwaukee Bucks and the Lakers game, I'll share and tweet a article that I wrote for the Action Network. Is I'm looking for the Bucks to cover this evening. I think the Bucks are looking to stop the bleeding from a recent 3-game losing streak. I think Drew Holiday has been playing really well as of late after missing a few games due to the health and safety protocols. And, he's been strong on both sides of the floor. So his defense is really what's going to be coming in handy against Dennis Schroeder, who's one of the Lakers' better scorers
Yeah.
at this point. He's prone to turnovers, and then Holiday is ranked 3rd in steals So I think they can, take advantage of that and get some fast break opportunities. I think the Bucks have been doing really well as large favorites. Since the 2018-2019 season, they're 61-36 as large favorites, and I define large favorites as 7 or more points, using that key number of 7 in the NBA, for 62.9%. So I'm not afraid to bet on these large spreads with the Milwaukee Bucks, as they've shown consistency in covering these. And then I also wanted to share one trend. Road favorites of 5 or more points who lost their previous matchup in the same season have gone 52, 33-1, 61% against the spread. So good revenge angle for the Bucks there. And then on the other side of the ball, Los Angeles, I think they've been on a 2-game winning streak, even though the 2 games were against the Magic and the Cavs, so some of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
So I don't get too excited about that. Drummond's going to make his debut today, and while I think that acquisition will pay dividends for them, I don't usually get too excited about new starters on a team, just because they need time to gel and build some chemistry. And usually what I find that these market prices, price their addition into the price as an immediate benefit, but I think it takes some time for the team to gel. So I don't think that it'll be. I think they'll need some time, and I don't think the Lakers will get that benefit immediately. And the Lakers are going on a 7-game road trip, so this is the last home game before a 7-game road trip. So that doesn't happen very often. But since the 2014-2015 season, teams that on their last game at home before they go on a 7-game road trip are 9-20 against the spread per the STQL database. So I think these teams aren't mentally focused as they soak up their last moments at home before they head on the road. So I'm liking the Bucks tonight. I like them to cover the spread against the shorthanded Lakers, and yeah, I'm gonna take the points.
Yeah, there's also a system on my end that supports the Bucks as well. Away favorites of 3.5 or more points, facing an opponent that has previous. Wait. I'm trying to read the code as I'm talking here. Sorry. Away favorites of 3.5 or more points, with the team's previous 2 opponents scoring at least 100 points in each game, and with the opponent being the Lakers coming off a win of 3 or fewer points over the last 27 years, dating back to 1995. That has gone 65-32 for 67%.
Amazing.
And there's one here where the trend is meaningless. And I'll throw it out there. The Bucks are 1-7 since February 10th on the road. For the ones that are just starting out betting, that is fruitless, absolutely fruitless. And if anything, even though it's 1-7 and working against the Bucks, apparently, in my world, in Austin's world, that's actually a positive for the Bucks, because those trends never get to like 1-10, 1-11, and sure, some of them might. But when it's 1-7 and it all has to do with on the road, there's no correlation. Now, if that ties in with straight up road problems like the Sixers did last year, they were a much different team on the road, but they were also learning how to win. But that's an example of the trends that I try to steer people away. And they're the most common ones you'll see on the sports books too. I mean, they're fun to look at, no doubt, especially when you're first starting out. You see that. The coach for Oregon in basketball is incredible in the NCAA. Well, that didn't work out too well this year, and that's because it matured, and they're prone to regression and trending the opposite way. So I think the Bucks is a really good, smart play tonight. I like it a lot. That's good. Any others?
Well, I had my eye on the total for the Pacers and the Heat. It fit the under 219, just general macro level system that we talked about earlier. The Heat play at the slowest pace in the league. And even though the Pacers have been playing a little quicker and more efficient with the ball, I found something this morning that was really interesting to me. So the Heat and the Pacers, this will be the 3rd game in the last couple weeks that they've played. So I think with the familiarity and, they're very familiar with each other. I think the defense can make some adjustments, and that'll tend to lead to lower scoring games. So I ran a query to look up teams that are playing for the third time in the last 3 weeks, how they perform, and they're 9-31 to the under for 22.5%. I guess you could think about the other way, 77%. So very strong signals to the under on the Pacers and Heat game. So that's another one that I will be playing tonight.
Third time the teams have met over the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the record of games? I want to note these great things on the YouTube page too.
Sure, 9-31 to the under. Mm-hmm. Or 31-9 to the under.
And that makes sense to me. It really does. You're right. Third time in 3 weeks, the teams know each other.
Yep.
That's good. That's very good.
It was
one that I can share with you here is let's see if I can pull it up here quick. It was in the what was it now? It was in the Dallas Mavericks game. So I just have to switch pages here. I have so many things that are open.
I thought that Dallas line was a bit short. I was surprised to see it only at -1 with the way that the Mavericks have been playing lately. Especially with Jaylen Brown questionable. I mean, that kind of makes me think that he's going to play with the line not budging at all.
Yep, and I can't agree more with that because that's exactly right. Betting on road teams with a line within 3.5 points of pick on either side, dog or favorite, and coming off a blowout win of 20 or more points, now facing a team like Boston that has scored 105 or more in 4 consecutive games, has gone 28, 6, and 2 for 84%. And then
Excellent.
I've been adapting some of these totals in terms of scoring to what the league average is now, because we've seen a dramatic increase in scoring from 5 years ago to now. The average this year is 111 points per game. It was 111 last year, and it was 110.2 3 years ago, but then it drops. So the last 3 years has seen this surge. So when I plug in 111 points or more in 4 or more of the last 6 games, it goes to 13-1.
Wow.
For Dallas. So yeah, that kind of got my attention, and very strong P value too. But
absolutely,
again, just because it's 13-1, guys, doesn't mean it's going to win. They play the game, and sometimes these powerful systems that Austin and I can find, especially on Austin's end of things, he's come up with some amazing systems. It's you're playing probabilities, and that's what we talk about in the Wager Talk show at 4:30. Tony Finn and Rob Vino always talk about that we're putting ourselves as professionals in the best possible scenario. In other words, the best probabilistic, if that's the term to use, Austin, manner, so that over time, if we think we're in a 60% win situation, I mean, you could have had USC last night and lost, but if you keep the discipline over time, you have the confidence that it's going to pay off. But it takes time. It's not this is not a thing where you have a $10,000 bankroll and you bet $5,000 on the NCAA championship game, and I highly recommend that you don't do that.
That's right. No, I'm with you. I think it's anything that helps you build find an edge, and I think these systems and the trends, even though they're not going to hit at 100% rate, they definitely help you find those edges that will help you be a profitable better long term. And I totally agree with you on the Mavericks. I think that the Celtics just have continued to disappoint. I think Fournier is going to be a nice pickup, but just like I mentioned earlier, with these new players coming in, it takes some time for them to gel and to build chemistry. With Dice being gone, And on the other side, JJ Redick for the Mavericks, they really needed a shooter like him, a sharpshooter like him, since they lost Seth Curry over the offseason. I think he's going to be a perfect addition to what they're trying to do in Dallas. So yeah, I definitely lean and like the play for the Mavericks as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. As always, I wish we had more time, but I know our plan is to have you on, hopefully as often as time permits in your schedule, possibly the same day, same time window, once a week or twice a week, whatever you can do. Certainly the more the better, because this is the kind of stuff I know that the chat room craves, and they want to hear it, and they want to write it down. And next time I'll be able to put some slides together so people will have the time to write it down, or they can go back and use it as a reference because they know the slide was in the show.
Right.
Because these things are way too powerful not to pay attention to. I think you still have to do your fundamental research and make sure that the players are not injured. The normal stuff. I look at efficiency on offense and defense a ton per 100 possessions. That's pretty common. And then Austin and I will get into some stuff that perhaps isn't so readily available on sites, but it's all for the improving that ROI. It's the ROI after 12 months that's what matters. Anybody can hit 75% for a week, but they ain't gonna do it for a whole season.
No.
That's not gonna happen.
Agreed.
I feel like a dad talking to, because I just turned 60, believe it or not. People can't believe it. I hope I don't look 60. I might today. That's because my lighting's not so hot here in the studio, but
No, I'm surprised. No, that's great. Yeah, happy belated.
My wife will, thank you. My wife will tell you that I certainly am not acting 60, and, we have a really cool Red Fox lab named Manny, and he takes me for hikes every day, twice a day. So it's not unusual for me to get 20,000 steps a day. So
it's great.
That's how you keep age at bay, I think. And then keep your mind active with this kind of stuff. I'm going to be young the rest of my days. But anyway, sorry I got off the track there.
No, you're looking great for 60, John. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, the lighting worked, didn't it? Hides everything. So for the show, we have under Lakers. We also have over Kings.
I'll stop you there. I shared the trend, and the Lakers and Bucks were active on it. I would lean towards it. It's not a strong play of mine. But the other ones that we've mentioned, I think the Clippers and the Nuggets is a good look for tomorrow if the number's right. But I know we've mentioned the Spurs and the Kings going over.
Over.
I've got the under on the Heat and the Pacers, and I'm taking the Bucks to cover the spread. I think those are the three that we've mentioned.
And then the one that they're facing the third time. Oh, that's the Heat.
That's the Heat and the Pacers. Yep.
Yeah, that one's pretty huge because they're both teams that just have an under characteristic to both of them, and then when they're put in this situation.
Yeah, just amplifies it.
Looking at your picks, that would be my favorite one. But again, don't do that. Don't he has picks here. If you're going to tail him, you got to put the same amount on each one. There's no reason to. What am I trying to say here? Like, there's no game of the month or game of the year in my world. Or Austin's world. It's 3%, 4%, 5% of your bankroll. That's how we do it at Sports Memo and Wager Talk, and that's what pros do. There's none of this nonsense that 9-31 to the under. So hell, that's a game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be careful of that on the other sites. There's a lot of good quality people out there. In my opinion, Wager Talk, Sports Memo has the best assembly of it. But then there's guys that aren't on there, like Austin, who's an independent professional bettor that I just happened to meet and had the pleasure of meeting, and now I've learned a ton from him. So you know what I'm trying to say. So I'll stop preaching here. It's not even Sunday, and I'm in the pulpit. But I really enjoy these shows, and having you on is a blast. So we'll definitely hook you up as soon as possible again. Um,
Absolutely. No,
is
it's
there?
been great. I've had a lot of fun. Like I said, it's my first time doing a live show like this. I love breaking it down with you, John. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, look forward to being on in the future too. We can arrange some
Yeah,
schedules and whatnot to have me on in the future.
yeah, absolutely. And is there any? Do you have a website, or is it just finds you on Twitter?
Yeah, well, find me on Twitter, a Wang underscore HTX. Of course, I'm contributing to the Action Network, so you'll see my articles on the Action Network as well. And I wanted to do a quick plug for the Discord channel, which is
Yeah.
it originally started as the SDQL Discord channel. So it evolved. Now it's called the Swag Discord channel. I think that stands for Sports Wagering Analytics Group because it's certainly expanded past the SDQL realm and into other databases, other tools such as Bet Labs that the Action Network provides, and it's great. It's a great community. People aren't afraid. People share trends, analysis, statistics, and very open about sharing and very generous with their sharing. And there's going to be there's a channel for each of the sports. There's even one for like Excel and modeling. If you had some questions on general Excel questions, or if you're looking to build some predictive models, getting some ideas from other folks that have done the same. It's just been a great community, and it's been I've been really happy with the progress, and I'll give shout out to SoCal at SoCal DJ, and he's the one that sort of was the trailblazer and started it all. So he should get a lot of the credit or all the credit for building this community, and it's been awesome. It's really been awesome. So I'll send out a link shortly after this. If anyone is interested in joining the community, then yeah, we'll be glad to have you.
Yeah, it's truly open source. I mean, by definition of open source, sharing is unbelievable. And unfortunately for myself, I don't have enough time in the day to actually spend
Yeah.
as much time as I would want. But I can promise you, within 10 or 15 minutes, you'll have a wealth of information that'll just literally just blow you away. And people are constantly going back and forth and sharing, and it's really an incredible opportunity. So
Hmm.
we need to, when you do that, retweet it off the show, and then
Yep.
tag SoCal,
Yeah, we'll
SoCal
do.
Deegan, right?
Yeah, Degen, I think.
Degen,
Short
that's
for
right, Degen.
for the
Deegan.
degenerate.
Yeah, I mispronounced it, but yeah, he's a great guy, and he's the one that started it right in the beginning, and it's morphed. I mean, it's really morphed into
Yeah,
a lot of members.
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. All right.
Well, Austin, again, thank you for being on the show. We'll line up the next time that you'll be on. I can tell by looking at the numbers here, the viewers, it's gone very well for your first time. So
Excellent.
yeah, certainly be proud of that. And till the next time at 4:30 this afternoon, when I will have Tony Finn and Rob Vino on for not just comedy, but some really strong best bets from some of the best guys out there in Vegas. So for the Predictive Playbook, I am John Ryan, and may all the wins be yours.